So, celestial event. No. Not once. Not once. To describe. I should have said. Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. The people need to see what I've seen. They need to see.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the Co-Federation Solar Sun, our starship planet Earth, restored to heaven on our and every earth as our spiritual, genealogical, local, global, universal voyager and shared her and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover and re-understand, sustain, and explore are and all are in fact familiar new worlds of family community of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe to restore, renew, and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, past, present, retroactively, and now, rebalance, and future, always balancing, to lovingly, genealogically, and boldly become and be space-time travelers whenever and where we have in-dimensional reality, all in part been before, if also never been before, in alternative space lines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ, IQ, and SQ continuum, balanced combinations of the ever-expanding circle which spirals and grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all both in each and every one. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body, for we all, both in each, and each both in all, can, must, and marvelously and miraculously make it so.
In the thunder's blast, she emerges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She's risen from the nativity of Caldera. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
May the circle be around unbroken. May the love of the goddess be ever in your heart. Very peace and very thought, very meet again. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. Om Mahalakshmi Mridapriya Maharupa Mahapurja Mahapadakranashini Mahamaya Mahasattva Mahashakti Maharati Mahabhuta Maheshwarya Mahavidya Mahavara Mahabuddhi Mahasiddhi Mahayogishwareshwari Mahatantra Mahamantra Mahayantra Mahasana Mahayagatramaradhya Om Mahabhairava Pujita Maheshwara Mahakalpaka Mahatandava Sakshini Mahakameshamahiti Mahatrapura Sundari Chatushti Upacharadhya Chatushti Kalamahi मम चतुष्षष्टिकोटियोगिनी गणसेविता
All of us.
Just a slot like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus. Celestial event. Once. Describe. I should have said. Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. People need to see what I've seen. They need to see.
this day I call the heavens and the earths as witnesses intercessorily for and hopefully and prayerfully not against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose love and life with light, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not our new millennial law. Welcome to our broadcast of the Co-Federation of the New Millennial Golden Rule, a human and all love and life, one family, community, on this and all planets, enlightened by the New Millennial Golden Rule of balance. Many people today did not go into their usual office grind because they were called upon to celebrate a human being who worked for peace and justice. We celebrate their and our interrelated family. It is believed by most anthropologists and archaeologists that humanity began in Africa, that the human family, or the biblical understanding of the female and male, Adam and Lilith, or Adam and Eve, whatever name we want to give that woman, which is rather controversial. And maybe it wasn't just one couple. Maybe it was more than one. Began in Africa. And then over many, many millennia, migrated to populate this entire round sphere of a planet, Earth. I'm going to put you on mute for a minute and see if our white buffalo calf women would like to co-host this broadcast with me. They have recently, during the day today and this week already, and I'll see if they would like to join us. Hold on and continue to visit the websites that are in front of you, especially at 5050now.wordpress.com. We all have a dream to make reality now. I've made it reality now. Turn off your television. It is not reality. This is reality. This is the reality that God wants, not what you're watching on television, or you've been watching, or maybe hopefully not. We'll be right back with you. because I want you to hear, in case we don't reach her, we'll leave a message for the White-capped buffalo women, because their wisdom that we are all related is the key to our broadcast.
Forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 54129. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Anna Marie singing cricket and Ma Patricia Sunflower. I know you are engaging in celebrations with your peace and justice community of sisters and brothers there in Coos Bay, Oregon, the home of the 100th monkey parable. And we are broadcasting, and everyone who is listening is hearing me leave this message with you. You have given us your wisdom, and I know you will come to additional broadcasts to share more about how we are all related on this planet and beyond this planet. I wanted you to know that you can call in at any time. Our call-in lines are open, and co-host this broadcast. But if for any reason you're not able to, connect us in your heart right there as you hear this with all our sisters and brothers of all heritages and races on the coast there. I'm on the East Coast, you're on the West Coast. Coast to coast and around the world. We are connecting all our family. We are all related. We are all one family on this planet, and with a marvelous, miraculous future because of my family interacting with your family, interacting with the number of families I'm going to be discussing in this broadcast, remembering our Shekinah, our women, past, present, and future, in full equality, and all of our youth, starting with those aged 37 and younger, female and male, first co-first, as the first co-secretary general's co-saviorahs, the first co-first, cosmic Christs, the equinoxes, true Qs, who will open the stargates, help us.
With your message, press 1. To listen to your message, press 2. To erase and re-record. To send your message, you have pressed an incorrect key. To send your message with normal delivery. Thank you. Your message has been sent. Goodbye.
There we go. Now we've connected coast to coast. I want to show you, before you look at me, our family. Some of our family, some of our first families, of our first co-first families, of the divine democracy that we have already begun. Here on this diagram, we have the family of Coretta, her mother Bernice, her sister Eunice, Alberta's mother, and Alberta. The great and grandmothers of what has been called the Scott King family. Now, in all reality, their ancestry did not have anglicized names. They were not of the line of Martin Luther directly, although he emerged from their line. And his wife did too, and his sisters and his cousins, as well as his brothers. They're sisters and brothers. This family is connected to our most ancient heritage on this planet, the African heritage. We all came out of Africa. Next to them here, we have another first family of this time frame, that of the Brannock, Skakel, Hannon, Fitzgerald, Bouvier, Kennedy, Daley, Shriver, Cuomo, which is related to Atlantis directly, family. Next to them, we have our family. The Margulies, Silverkind, Zalkind, Feldmarian, and many more interrelated family community, beloved family community, including the Sweets and the Sagans, and many, many more. Next to them, we have the family of our White Buffalo Calf women. We have Anna Marie and her mother, Mount Patricia, next to my mother and I, and all within these teepees represented the hundreds of millions, likely, of Native Americans on not only the North American, but the South and Latin American areas of our world, who we know are, in fact, related to the people of Asia. In their genetic heritage, it's very similar. And here, and of course, they were called Indians, which relates them directly to the families of the Indus, including that of Kasturba and Mohandas Kapadia Gandhi, whose techniques of nonviolent resistance were the chief inspiration for Coretta and Martin, as well as Winnie and Nelson in both South Africa, as well as India, as well as in the United States, all since the 1940s. And here we have the depiction. Looks like we have some of our frame missing here. I'm going to move it over so you can see there's more to this picture. Did it lose its screen share? Our planet is a circle, and we have made it in 2 spiritual steps here for you to look at what is necessary to redeem this planet. This circle of the world is surrounded by all females, the women who have been second class since the fall of Atlantis and the switch from a goddess worshiping culture to patriarchal cultures. We are here repairing the female. And in this depiction of our planet, we have integrated the female with her young, female and male, people aged 37 and younger, as our first Secretary Generals, co-saviorahs, so that we can all travel back in time so that all the men, and this is a hard thing to say, but it is true, that all of the men, the older men, over age 38, from Martin to James Earl, are relieved of the scourge of domination, oppression, and violence that occurs when women are second-class citizens and lessers. It is the patriarchal hierarchy that creates victims and martyrs among men, and victimizers and martyrs and victims among men and women. It is the victimization of women primarily as an ongoing process of patriarchy that creates the tendency for nation to go against nation, for race to go against race, for religious sect to go against religious sect, for sister to go against sister for brother to go against brother. The fall of the Garden of Eden, in Cain, in slaying Abel, has a subtext that is not expressed clearly in the biblical account, perhaps somewhat corrected by Elizabeth Cady and her committee's Bible, the Women's Bible, that the women under patriarchy also, in smaller but very real ways, murdered themselves and murder one another because, as second-class people, their full genius is depleted, and as a result, the males also pay the price. That is clearly the story of the Scott King clan. Both Martin and his brother Alfred were murdered. And so was, in fact, their mother, Alberta, by a young black man who was saying that black ministers were misleading African Americans. And he came after Martin Luther King's father, but instead shot and killed his mother, Alberta, 6 years after Martin Luther King was martyred, and about 5 years after his brother was martyred. And many other people were martyred in the North American continent in the effort to deal with the intensity of racism that is a subtext that grows out of the everyday commonplace intensity of genderism. You cannot have racism unless you have genderism. Genderism causes racism because once people learn to degrade their own mothers and grandmothers, it's pretty easy to degrade somebody whose name doesn't sound like yours, who has a different coloration of their skin, who has a different sectarian name according to your religion. It becomes incredibly easy once you have dehumanized your own mother and your own great and grandmothers, and they have allowed themselves to be dehumanized. It becomes easy to dehumanize other human beings. In addition, when we dehumanize and degrade the mothers, we are also particularly degrading and dehumanizing or undervaluing the estrogen-related virtues of nurturing and connecting and steadfast loyalty and kindness, even in the face of pain. Martin Luther King, and by the way, the family name was not originally King. They were given another anglicized name by a plantation-owning family. I think it was Branham. And in the effort, after a while, after they regained some semblance of freedom, to distance themselves from the slave experience, they changed their name to King. But back in Africa, where they originated, they likely had a name perhaps similar to Anna Marie and her mother's, Singing Cricket and Sunflower, maybe a nature worshiping name. Many of our names refer to admirable goddess and godlike qualities or aspects of nature, no matter what heritage we came from. The name Coretta means a queen of heart. And the names of the daughters of this family, Yolanda, speaks to every land being your land. And Bernice who was also the name of Careta's mother, is a name that also means a holy house or a bright understanding, a brilliant understanding. Yolanda and Bernice, likely in their ministries, have not talked about the African Orishas. Orishas was the name that Africans used for goddess. Within the African traditions, similar to those of Europe and Asia and everywhere around the world, there was a time period where different names were given to goddess-like, likely women, who had enormous empowerment of a variety of virtues. They are, as we understand it now, embodiments of the mother aspect of the universe, the yin, which has yang within it, but focuses particularly on the nurturing and the connecting awarenesses. The yang awarenesses tend to focus more on action and also on protection. And actually, these various virtues interplay within our personalities. And we all have both mother and father within us. We both have the mother. We all have both the mother and the father of the universe within us. But in patriarchal cultures, most people try to esteem those virtues that are associated with the father. And they esteem less the virtues associated with mothering and sistering and female activity. As a result, from that hierarchy in which the male virtues are celebrated more than the female, we wind up with the shameful and sinful condition that Martin Luther King talked about and did not realize what was causing it. What was causing it is anthropological patriarchy. Patriarchy took the life of Robert F. Kennedy and John F. Kennedy, but also took the life of Kathleen and Rosemary Kennedy. Just as in this family of the Kings, the loss of Martin and Alfred was accompanied by the loss of Alberta and other women, many women, many women, who were often also raped while in the plantation setting. And we also have to know that slavery did not start in the United States. It started in Africa, and it was the product of interaction with Arab traders who had learned to haremize women. Before that interaction, slavery was not a major factor in Africa. When the Europeans came to Africa, they made deals with Africans who had learned some of this slaving attitude, especially toward women and younger men. And the old men sold some of their own people into bondage, because the old men of this heritage and that heritage, just as now with our CEOs from that nation and this company and that company, they don't mind making deals with human life. Why is that? Because patriarchy creates a huge distance in the empathic bond of older men away from that of their children and their grandchildren. They are less bonded to them than our mothers and grandmothers. As a result, they're more willing to kind of screw them once in a while. And when that has gone on from thousands of generations, as we have on our planet, what we wind up with is the situation we have. Billions of people in poverty, a very small percentage with pointless money in the bank,
which they tend to use to invest in destructive things, and nuclear stockpiles of nuclear weapons and dangerous nuclear power plants, fracking, oil, all while the sun was always abundantly shining upon us, waiting for us to discover the solar panel. Well, took us a long time, but we did. We did discover the solar panel out of a grain of sand. Now all of these families can enter a new era, warmed by the heart of the sun that warms daughters and sons equally. In Christianity, for thousands of years since the Council of Nicaea, the daughter and the mother aspect became reduced to a ghost. It was called the Holy Ghost. The Catholics kind of kept Mary around, but the Protestants kind of threw her further back. And the Catholics, Mary was kind of a watered down version of an adult woman. She was a lovely vessel, very pure, but not too on the ball. So much so that she let her son get crucified without much of a protest. We have to understand that prior to Christianity, for thousands of, well, tens and scores of thousands of years, humanity worshipped the goddess as well as the god. And in the very ancient times, the pantheons did not put the male at the top. They tended to put the female at the top of the pantheon. The great Titan goddesses were considered more powerful and gave birth to the hero gods, not the other way around. And so we have to look at the situation of the queens and kings as common queens and kings of all the heritages in this melting pot, mixing bowl of North America and all of the Americas, because all of the Americas has immigrated Europeans that have come into a pre-existing Native American population, and then also brought in through slavery lots of African Americans and people of other heritages now of Asia and Africa and all around the world. All of these people are the rainbow. We are the rainbow of light. Humanity is a rainbow of light, but it is a disaster that has only rain and no rainbows, no light, no sun, no sunny shine, very dependent on oily fossil fuel and dark ways of dealing with one another. When we relegate the female to a secondary status. Anna Marie Singing Cricket and I today called Christine King Beale, who is a niece of Coretta and Martin Luther King, and also of Martin's currently living sister, who was born named Willie, but now has changed her own name to Angela Christine. A living angel Christ is right in her name. She teaches education and literacy and does a lot of volunteer work related to, obviously, the intellect at Spelman College and other organizations that she's associated with. She doesn't have a day, does she? And Coretta doesn't have a day, does she? Papa Ronnie didn't designate them a day. Our month started on January 11th with Tacey Perry, Paul's daughter, Alice, who brought women to the vast majority, I mean, brought the vote to the larger majority of people in North America, the women, does not have a day. She does not have a day. It was never, no woman has a day, except Mother's Day, which has no name attached. Now, men are good at giving days to each other because they're focused on themselves, because women allow them to be. Patriarchy is an interactive dance. Women subjugate themselves willingly. Men don't notice that. As George Carlin said, women are crazy because men are dumb. Men are stupid was his famous phrase. Women are crazy because men are stupid. What did he mean they were stupid about? Patriarchy. Pretending that everything's normal when it isn't, and everything's equal when it isn't, and living in a state of extreme hypocrisy. You know, I was reading today, and I was fascinated to discover that when Rosa, our risen Rosa Parks, whose birthday is February 4th, and she doesn't have a day, was arrested, as some other people had been arrested even previous to her, for not giving up her seat when requested to give up her seat on the bus to a white male. The law upon which she was arrested, which was the legal law passed by the patriarchy of the South, that was also a racist establishment too, because one leads to the other, inevitably, either on paper or in actual reality of action. The law said specifically that it is against the law for a Negro, I think it said, or a person of color, I can't remember, not to give up their seat to a person of the white race or of the minority race, but it didn't say their seat. It said his seat. The law was written in genderist language. She broke a law that said that she was a he. And her breakage of the law was that she, called a he, did not give up her seat. Today, recently, a woman in India was raped on a bus. Well, she was taken from the bus by the bus driver and other men that he was associated with who were quasi-passengers on the bus, and brought to a terrible place where she was gang raped. It took place on a bus. And in Israel, a woman who did not feel she had to enter the bus through its back door was spat upon by not only men but women of the far orthodox, fundamentalist, misogynist practices that exist among some of those people who are my family very closely. And one of my family, a young 8-year-old girl, was chased through a neighborhood by older men who were spitting on her and calling her names because she was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, and that was considered not proper dress for their neighborhood for a young female. So they chased her and spat upon her and terrorized her and gave her a terrible trauma for wearing her little jeans and sweatshirt. Apparently they're oblivious to the fact that most of the women of Asia have always worn trousers and have never been thought to be less feminine because of it. It's very odd what patriarchy does to people's thoughts. It has a tremendous impact. That hierarchy against the female creates an environment of deliberate but habitual and unnoticed degradation and threat that that ripples into the other aspects of life. And most importantly, it fails to appreciate the genius that so many women have, more than half the human race, because, or human family, because once you down the mother, you're also downing the younger people. They're regarded as lessers too, and older men are set up as greater, having greater knowledge. They do not. They do not have greater knowledge. Women and young people aged 37 and younger have very often very deeply intuitive insights that are of extreme importance to social science, physical science, biological science, humanities, art, music. And we know this, but we don't act like it because our governments are filled with mostly old men, and behind the scenes they're controlled by corporations and networks of older men with lots of accumulated money under the gross domestic product, which, as you will read on our website under the New Millennial Golden Rule, does not count most of the work done on this planet, which is unpaid, mostly done by women, 2/3 done by women, and another third done by men. The activities of nurturing your children, taking care of your elderly, and loving one another at any age, community activities, are given no valuation under the gross domestic product. And that's why Robert F. Kennedy, a few months after the assassination of Martin, was talking about how the gross domestic product is a deceiver and destroys our understanding of real wealth. And now today, we have the solar solution. We have the genuine progress indicator, which is part of the New Millennial Golden Rule. And yet we see lots of protests on specific issues, you know, a terrible situation with a shooting of a young black man, or and that's another interesting thing. The women of the black community have risen now to create some balance here, and created an organization devoted to the numbers of young women who have been assaulted and murdered by black women, by out of control, errant so-called law officers. These women got very little of the press and nowhere near the public protest that the young men did, which is abundant proof that we in our unconscious genderism actually provoke the violent culture that eventually comes back to haunt men. It turns some men into monsters and others into victims. This is patriarchy. We have the solar solution to this problem everywhere on Earth. May I assist you? May I assist you? Would you like to take part in the broadcast? We're broadcasting right now, my darling. Well, if you can talk on your phone, if you can chew gum and walk at the same time, you can do it. I'll put you on speakerphone and I'll tell you what we're talking about. And you could add your story from the Native American and female perspective that you have. You're on speakerphone now. We have with us Anna Marie singing cricket, White Buffalo Calf Woman. She's currently co-stewarding the planet of her pet. And she's joining us because we live in a time where, just like in Star Trek, you hit your communicator button and you can talk to the universe. So we're doing that. And what I was just saying, Anna Marie, is that Black women today have founded an organization because there was so much attention given. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you need to be a little louder.
All right.
I'm dealing with traffic.
All right. And Anne Marie, we mentioned you already in this broadcast. We showed your pictures, Anne Marie, and talked about your family in relationship to our family and how we're all related. You are often saying your famous Lakota phrase, "We are all related," correct?
Yes, yeah.
And we're talking about violence toward people of color in North America and how it is an outgrowth of genderism. That genderism produces a kind of sociopathic tendency among some people to degrade and dehumanize other people. Once you have degraded and dehumanized your mother and your grandmothers, the people who nurtured you as a baby, it isn't that difficult to dehumanize people based on group assignment, whether it be gender, race, class, different religious sect.
Yeah.
It's dehumanization grows out of patriarchy. So I was just saying, one of the things I learned today in reading about this marvelous family that is related to ours, and I'll describe the relationship to, and to your family too, is that I didn't know that Coretta's mother-in-law, Martin Luther King's mother, was shot and killed 6 years after he was.
She was, yeah.
I didn't know that. I had not heard that. I didn't know. Obviously, the reaction of the world was not as great as it was to the loss of her son. And Yolanda died recently, his daughter, of a heart attack due to stress.
But one of his daughters was a minister.
Both of them.
Were they both ministers?
They were both ministers. Now, what you and I are talking about in our Messiah work is that we can open the stargates. That the souls.
Oh, this is so great. Okay, two things. When I was helping with the Martin Luther King celebration, they also celebrated Rosa Parks and a woman by the name of Simons that I'm not as well familiar with, and Coretta Scott King as well. And they had that on the films and documentary that they showed, was all about their contributions, and Mahatma Gandhi and his wife, their contributions were all shown today at that celebration.
I'm so delighted to hear that. One of my most beloved family members shares his birthday with Kasturba Kapadia Gandhi, Mahatma's wife, who I call the Mahatma Amma.
Oh, and tonight I was at a different documentary film that was real amazing. It was about the veganism, okay, and what the killing of animals is doing to our planet, and the massacre of one another is doing to the planet. And they again had Mahatma Gandhi on there, and had listed all the great individuals that were vegan.
Vegans, yes.
And by the way, Cesar Chavez was, Martin Luther King was. He was not carnivorous at all. Mahatma Gandhi, of course, was vegan, and so was Coretta Scott King, and a number of other people that also included Rosa Parks.
That's interesting to know. We're often assisted in these broadcasts by my kitty cats, Donia Aurora Feliz and Maria Rainbow Sweetheart. And I agree with you that God as God has given us diversity of life that is marvelous, miraculous. And we know that animals do have higher intelligence, and especially the mammals. And
most of the people that have been involved over time in nonviolence have been vegan. And they're not carnivorous at all.
I think that gives them the spirit of reverence for life, and many of
we weren't built to be carnivorous either. We weren't built to be carnivorous because our teeth give no indication of being carnivorous like other animals. So.
That's very interesting. Well, in order to assess and integrate ideas like veganism, we need divine democracy. We need a discussion framework for lawmaking that does not dehumanize and degrade.
Well, that's partly being carnivorous. Humans being carnivorous is part in the slaughter of animals. Apparently has a lot to do with climate change and a variety of things. Just everything that has to happen in order to slaughter animals is causing a lot of issues.
Well, I think it's all intertwined. The degradation of the feminine creates a degradation of the attitude toward nature. They go hand in hand. If you're going to degrade that which gave you life, you're going to degrade life.
Almost certainly.
And so if the first step that we all have to take is the new millennial golden rule. In order to assess complicated issues like our energy patterns and our attitude toward other living creatures and the beautiful abundance that is given to us on this planet as blessing by the Mother, Father, Goddess, God, we have to have a framework for decision making and discussion leading up to decision making that is fully inclusive of females and is generationally responsible from the 7th to the 11th generations, which is another Native American understanding that you're supposed to be in your deliberations. Think to the 7th, and you and I are adding the 11th generation, because we're adding the L, which is the French word for the female, and is also the ancient Hebrew and Aramaic name for Eloha and Elohim, the divine female and the divine male. We are capable of divine and true democracy. Common sense, the way Miriam Lambert husband, Tom Lambert Payne, gave in January of 1776, that was completely ignored because we were so patriarchally primitive and so many people were illiterate that they couldn't even notice the difference, as many people yet don't, between his vision of the separation from monarchy and aristocracy, which was what he thought the revolution was about, and the later vision that came from the plantation owners.
Do you know, hold on a minute. Do you know what Carol was? Is she here? She was away. When did that happen? Oh, really?
She's out in the area of her Coos Bay area, so there's a neighbor speaking with her. And she'll come back in a moment. Now, we have other family that we have asked to co-host. You may have heard Anna Marie's mother, Ma Patricia Sunflower, whose name is so revealing of what we need to focus on about ourselves and our times. This is a time to realize that we are star stuff, and our nearest star is the sun. And if we transition off of fossil fuels and nuclear fission to the fusion energy that is the sun, 93 million miles away, but so powerful that it gives life to all the life on this planet, using our solar panels now available to everyone, and you can do it no money down now, thanks to another Kennedy, Kennedy who used to work for Greenpeace, whose name is Danny Kennedy, and his mother and family that gave him some awareness. And we've got another, many young people, female too, involved in the solar energy area, like Eden Full Go. It sounds, her name means to go to full Eden. And she has developed the use of a simple bottle of water in a bamboo stick to orient solar panels to absorb the most sunlight so that they are most efficient. This technology is enormously important, and she is awaiting notice. Some people are aware of her. She did this at age 19. So what we need is a world in which our media is not focusing only on older men and putting women into this teleprompter role, which so many of them have so mindlessly accepted, that all they do is read about what that male leader said and this male leader said and that male leader said, and they sit around speculating on and commenting on what other women wore and how they looked, instead of what is inside their thoughts, their heart, and their vision. So today, we did, Anna Marie and I earlier called Celeste King Beale. I'd like to call her Queen King Beale, because the family is of Coretta also, who the name means queen. So now my family and your family, my family, I know, has princesses and princes of peace in it. It has goddess mothers and sisters and Shekinah, great and grandmothers and women who are current in our generations, who by not talking with each other about their own empowerment have become more and more drone-like and are endangering their children, both individually with the wrong kind of medical care that we do have in the United States. Almost every other literate country has universal medical care and much higher rates of prevention and use, especially in countries like France and Europe, of family therapy to deal with the systemic underlying causes of stress for people. We know that most disease is caused by stress. And 97% of disease is believed to be triggered by stress. You may have a predisposition to some certain failures within your bodily functioning, but it doesn't show up until you're stressed and significantly stressed. And we do know that from the work of Robert, I'm forgetting his name, he's an anthropologist who has studied the baboons, that when the alpha males are, for some reason, he found a natural situation in which the alpha males were taken away from the baboon clan. The clan actually thrives better. The members do better. All of them. And I have a feeling that if that occurred for a while and the alpha males were returned to the clan, the alpha males would also do better. And that's essentially the program that we have here with the New Millennial Golden Rule and our 9 to 18 month first go first, last shall be first divine democracy model of women and youth age 37 and younger, especially female and male, especially minorities included from every continent, to change the paradigm and then develop a partnership paradigm to which older men can return and thereby themselves also share in the benefits of all of this, which is a stress-free eternal life with the stargates opened on this and all planets. We want to make it possible for Bernice to see Yolanda and Coretta, as well as Martin and Alfred and Alberta and Edith and Bernice, and all of them again. And in my family, we have treasured women who we have lost. Harriet, who I really want to open the stargates to reopen so she can regard her daughters and her great and grandchildren, her son, her great and grandson, and his young woman friend who she would regard as her own too. And we all do regard each other in this family circle of many, many cousins, cousinas and cousins, Shekinah of several generations, and they're young, female and male, as very, very gifted in the area of opening the stargates and finding eternal life. We went to a school where our teacher, one of the teachers, was a woman by the name of Mrs. Light, and she taught all about her democracy. Her family is involved in longevity studies. In other words, eternal youth. We combine the potential of the learning of our childhoods with the mothers and the teachers that we had. And so do all people. And if we start valuing the teachers and the women, just in general, the learning and teaching experience that women are so involved in nurturing children, as Angela Christine Ferris King is, then we will automatically create a society in which men do not have to overcome the exploitation of other men in order to have their innate dignity and all of our goddess and godlike qualities, our genius, come forth in the rainbow. You see how this works? It's really quite simple. So that's why the New Millennial Golden Rule. Now, we have this section at the website called I Have a Dream. We've read this speech there already yesterday, and so I'm not going to, it's kind of getting late in the hour here. I'm not going to read it again, but you can see it there at 5050 now, .wordpress.com. It is an intersectional version of the I Have a Dream speech that deals with gender first and foremost, and then also deals with class, age, race, and nationalism, and sectarianism in religion. All the domination and dividers of family on this planet, of the human family that is, as anthropologists tell us, at least, at most, 50th cousina and 50th cousin from everyone else on the planet. There are many Americans who are mixtures of African Americans and Native Americans and Europeans. Many, and Asians. There are many, many Americans who now have that mixed heritage. And we are a melting pot in that way, and we are also a mixing bowl in that some of the members of these various beautiful flowers of the bouquet of humanity want to preserve and are comfortable preserving their identity within their, say, haploid group. However, it works both ways, and both are necessary. Just as the spectrum of a rainbow has areas of the color that are most pure, and then areas that are kind of admixtures of the color next to it. It's a spectrum, and it merges, and it is a merging spectrum. So it's infinite diversity in infinite combination, having room for specific identities as well as sharing identities. Culturally, we are all of one family now because the internet connects us all, and we can learn from everyone. So, for example, the Gulabi gang in India has provided both the Native American women and Black women and all women in this culture, many who suffer from domestic violence, an answer to gather with women in your community and intimidate those who engage in this kind of bullying against their own women, and in many cases bodily injury, horrible things, and to stop them by the presence of the force of the feminine in the society. We are not all simply waiting for the men in blue in India, the women wear pink saris, but they have stopped domestic violence in some of the areas of India where it was most prevalent, and very effectively so. All of these cultures are in a transition right now that has been retarded by the fact that American women were deliberately deceived by their media, and that they were able to find what you'd call a third rail or a fifth column of women who work in the media and do not tell the truth, who read what their teleprompters tell them to read and don't question it in order to keep their jobs. There is a very, there are many examples of this. The one that comes to mind was that Laura Flanders was able to interview Nawa al-Saadawi of the Tahrir Revolution in Egypt and discover that Nawa al-Saadawi told her that Christian Amanpour was willing to excise and edit out what Nawa al-Saadawi said about the role of the United States in subverting the Tahrir Revolution, and particularly in regards to the empowerment of women. And Christian Amanpour came under pressure from her corporate bosses at, I guess it's CNN, I think, and she edited out that part of the interview. She was willing to let it be aired with what this very brave woman of Egypt, who was fighting for full empowerment of women with the Egyptian Women's Charter that required at least 40% in the government. It was edited out and American audiences never heard it. So American audience never knew about the Egyptian Women's Charter. And as a result, the Tahrir Revolution failed. Now there's thousands of very nice people in Egypt in jail, and thugs are once again ruling the area. The whole Middle East is filled with that kind of patriarchal mess. There is every country in the Middle East is caught in that, because North American women who have many of the heritages of the Middle East overlapping. We have in this country a Jewish diaspora, Israeli. We have a Arab diaspora. We have an Iranian diaspora. Every one of those countries have people living in North America. All the Arabs, all the Hebrews, all the Iranians, all the wives of Abraham and their descendant children, because that's what these people are. The Israelis and the Hebrews, the Jews, are the children of Sarah. The Arabs are the children of Hagar, and the Iranians are the children of Keturah, all who were chattelized during a period of patriarchy on our planet, and therefore could not have their own husbands. So they had one husband, but all of these different peoples are fighting one another as if they don't know that their mothers were also all related, because the different intersecting clans and families there were in fact related. And they go back all the way to the first families on the family of the earth, and of course all the way back to Africa. We all do. We all go back to Africa. So to speak of the queens and kings of this family today is also to bring forth the princes and the princesses, the princesses and the princes of peace, the eternally young people, the common queens and kings, in a world in which Miriam and Tom Lambert's Payne dream of a royalty that is entirely common, common sense, common royalty, is living up to the name of queen and king, and we do not have super wealthy monarchs and super wealthy CEOs and super wealthy sheiks at the expense of the rest of the people. And that we liberate our CEOs, our sheiks, and their enabling wives, their trophy wives, from the obsession of accumulation of fool's gold. The great gold is in the sky. It's the sun. That warms the planet, gives us abundant vegetation, food, warmth, actually heating and cooling, transportation now, because we have electric cars that can plug into a solar paneled energy source. We have everything we need now. We have nothing to fight over anymore. Yet there are people who are still fighting. And it is the residue of patriarchy. So we ask you to read. I will pull it up on the screen now. I Have a Dream. I'll read a little bit of the sections of it. Okay, that's our conference line, which is open. You can call in. We have asked our families, our sisters and our sister cousines, and our young nieces and nephews to co-host with us. And they are depicted here. You've seen their faces larger. I will show them to you now, again, a little bit larger from my own family, because I want this family to recognize its potential. Just as here's a little bit larger of the Scott King family. Let's look at that a little bit first today. This is a very incomplete family tree. It was what I was able to find. There's surprisingly little in the way of a built-up family tree depicted about this #1 family of African Americans in terms of the common person in this part of the world. I should also be very honest. I have written and called Lois and Michelle Robbins' daughters Obama and their family many times and have not received response. I found some very enthusiastic young secretaries working for them, but I did not hear a response. I have announced that I'm the paraclete, that I have given the new millennial golden rule as the law of all nations, and in fact beyond nationality, the law of every love thy neighborhood on the planet Earth, love thy neighborhood, love thy neighbor female and male with respect and honoration, as well as the men, the males, and all the children, female and male. I have given this and I have contacted them. They haven't responded. I want to say, I think I've said earlier, the irony is that their daughter, one of them, Malia, has the name of one of the ancient capitals of Atlantis, which was an egalitarian culture. They didn't have a patriarchal Congress or a Supreme Court or presidency and vice presidency. The women were profoundly ruling and co-ruling in Atlantis. And the men liked it that way. They didn't have to worry about wars. They were egalitarian. They had abundance. They were seafaring. They had a very far reach. It was an ideal society with happiness and without much illness and profound sciences, arts, and sports that all people participated in and were not. And the money and the monetary aspect of the society was based on nature. They used to use something called saffron, which was their means of exchange. And many of the ancient cultures, the Native Americans also used to use shells, which had the benefit of giving the mollusks for food, for their means of exchange. Now, with solar panels and energy, we won't need money. We're at a time where we're really on the verge of Star Trek now, yet we're obsessed with money. We do need to heed the fact, according to Christians and Jews, that we have missed almost every Jubilee since long before Maryam and Jesus of Nazareth lived. We have many Jubilees to recalculate and redistribute. That was the biblical rebalancing factor, according to the Judeo-Christian ethic. I never hear about this from so-called Christians in the United States, except for a few. But it's right there in black and white in the Bible, in the Christian Judeo-Christian book that also is shared with the Muslims and all the people of the book and the Baha'i. There's so many who refer to that, and yet somehow they have morphed thou shalt kill into it's okay to have an army, and they have forgotten the Jubilees. Hypocrisy is a part of patriarchy. It requires that half of the human race, human family, stop thinking and just obey and look up adoringly at the men. And the men don't quite as often look adorably at the woman for her decision making. They look adorably at her for doing so nice and kind toward them. But what about her? When men become advanced enough, like Jack Holland, who wrote The World's Oldest Prejudice, and Alan Johnson, who wrote The Gender Knot, Untying Unraveling the Legacy of Patriarchy, then both women and men will live lives where they don't have to worry about exploitation, assassination, genocide, planetocide, ecological collapse. They'll have it easy and golden and Gaia. And that is my family's tradition. I'll show you our family. We are the family of the Gaia effect. We are also connected to the family of not only of Mariam and Jesus of Nazareth, but also the Gandhis and the Mino Gandhis, to ancient Atlantis, and to Baha'i, and to Unitarian Universalism, and you name the religion, we're connected to it. So let's see, I'll pull that up for you of our family. These are the great and grandmothers at the top of the family tree, and opening the stargate so we can return them, and then the men can come through too. We can regain Martin Luther King. He can come back through the stargate. I'm not kidding. He's waiting for us. Do you think his soul just disappeared? Somebody like that? The universe doesn't work that way. He is incarnated somewhere. And this has been the subject of many of the episodes of Star Trek, and they're absolutely spot on. That the universe does not erase the human soul if the person has lived a reasonably virtuous life and heroic and striven for greater love of the Mother, Father, Goddess, God. And striven in the name of the love of the children of the Mother, Father, Goddess, God. I'm waiting for this to come up. My computer search is slow, so please bear with us. I want to show you my own dearest family and closest genealogical relationships, because Mother Teresa was right. If you want world peace, you have to start with your family, and I frankly didn't know that in my earlier days. I thought the thing I had to do was get a higher education, which was fine, and it is important. But what I didn't realize is I left my hometown in order to get that education. And that was a very bad mistake. I now realize that your family is your biggest teacher. That you're assembled in families in different reincarnated souls for a reason. And when you are in a family, each person has a particular role to play to bring about the ascension of the other members of that family. And I don't mean just a nuclear family. I mean the extended family that they can identify with. And so here we all look at my family of our great and grandmothers. This is Lynn Margulies, the very famous geobiologist who was the wife of Carl Sagan, who was one of our Hikina. This is our mother Harriet. Our great grandmother is Ray, and great and grand aunt Harriet's sister, Jacqueline, who's struggling with Alzheimer's because she's affected by patriarchy, as many other women in this culture are and don't realize what's causing it, and it is patriarchy, and I'm going to prove that. You there? Okay, great. I'm showing my family, and I'll show you in your beautiful graphic right now, too. And we're showing Rose here, Antoinette, Dorothy, and Lynn. And here we have, can you hear me? And here we have all our Shekinah, our Kazinas currently, and these are the women over age 38 generally, and also our younger princes and princes of peace. Here are the group age 37 and younger, and couples who have formed, who have great ability to interact in an egalitarian way with their Kazinas and cousins in the way of peace culture. And of course that exists within this tree too, of Martin Luther King's, of Coretta. I won't say, see how quickly I flip back right into the habits, conventional habits. You have to watch yourself. Coretta and Bernice's great and grandchildren, and Edith, and all of, and Alberta's, okay? And when we've talked about them in that way for a while, then we can also talk about them more coherently as Coretta and Martin's kids, instead of just Martin Luther King's kids, you know? And Martin Luther King's Memorial Day, and Martin Luther, you know, it's all a sign of the way we think. We're waiting for great men. It's what John Lennon said. Women are the nigger of the world, and we're all waiting for the father, the government, to fix us. We can't do that and expect to have democracy and expect to have a risen experience as human beings. We have to honor the female and honor the young and honor the minority as much as the majority. And then we will be free. All of us, including the majorities, including the men, will gain eternal life. And here is Anne Marie's family represented. Yes, I'm not talking right now. I'm actually searching for your graphic that shows you and your mother. Is your mom there to hear us? Oh, okay. Well, tell your mother we're showing her picture in your picture right now. I'm gonna. All right. All right. We'll see if you'll. Yeah, we've got you on speakerphone, so talk as long as you can. We are all related, aren't we? And we are all children of the Mother, Father, Goddess, God. Now we're showing your Native American teepees representing them. Obviously, your people didn't really live in teepees. The Lakota and the Coquille tended to live in long houses. So did the Iroquois. But a lot of the Plains Indians lived in teepees, and the Navajo lived in teepees. Some of them, they lived in also kind of cave cities. Very consonant with nature. And let's see, it's not coming up right. There we go. And here's Anna Marie singing cricket and Ma Patricia Sunflower. And here I am with our mother Harriet. Here is our entire family tree. This is a symbolic representation of our nieces and nephews, especially my beloved nephew and his young woman friend, but all of them. We have a young woman in our family who has young brothers. This young woman is a living reincarnation of Queen Esther. And we cannot have Easter without Esther's. Esther's was promised 50-50. If we cannot bring 50-50 to our young women, we don't have a future for our young men. It's that simple. So we are honoring them all. We have here a small depiction of the circle of sisterhood and all the various heritages of people in the middle. We are all related. And the family tree, of course. Did you want to say that again?
I was saying you could say I was saying.
Okay. And with that comment, Anna Maria singing cricket, White Buffalo Calf Woman in the area of 100th Monkey, Coos Bay, Oregon, taking the re-evolutionary step of balance of gender for all of the world as nativities, natives of one planet. A co-secretary general, co-saviora, and you can read about her and all our family at 5050now.wordpress.com. And I'll show you this in a moment as soon as my computer responds.
I just got all that COVID.
I'm here. I'm trying to show the section of the website about We All Have a Dream. Okay, and then I'm going to show all the representatives, which include you and your family and our family and all of our families, including, of course, this famous family today. There we go. We all have a dream to make reality now, state of the new millennial union. We all have a dream. As for this speech was given by me in January 2013. I'm simply revising it every year to include a little bit more of our divine democracy. The word is getting out that we are under new law. I am the paraclete. I am the representative, first but not last or only cosmic Christ. Anna Marie, and here we have the speech, and we have the famous words of Martin Luther King, which I'm sure his family helped him write and inspired his words. His wife and his children, female and male, and all of his generations, his mother, as well as his father. Are you kidding me? Where is this at? I have this on my website. Oh, okay. Well, that's a sign of something coming through then. The eternal feminine is rising. But they can't just do it as a fashion statement. This has to be coupled with the new millennial golden rule. That's where our job is. You know, it can't just you put on the clothes and then go back and vote for all male government. You can't wear it like lipstick. You can't wear democracy like lipstick. It has to. Okay, well, I'm reading. I'll just read a section of it. Now we'll speak one thing about this. This family operated significantly in Atlanta, and Anna Maria and I are delivering Atlantis Risen. Atlantis was the longest survived civilization on the face of the earth that we know of. It was without war and the highest standard of living known. And it was primarily egalitarian. It was completely egalitarian. And the women were the highest leaders. Their highest goddess was Astrea, who I am a representative of, who is the goddess of the Statue of Liberty, a sun and star goddess of the universe, not just of one planet. So this is what Anna Marie and I are delivering to you today. She was just saying she saw a Miss Congeniality contest. Tell us again. They were all dressed up how?
Like goddesses, but they were wearing headdresses of the Statue of Liberty.
And this is what we recommend on our website that you take to your neighborhood as part of our Time Travel Kitties kit, which we'll show you very quickly on the website too.
Well, there's just about the thing. There was a man that was there to establish Africa, you know, just began, especially surgery for them, and done all kinds of helping things with African adopted people there, and start helping with schools and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, he was also talking in his talk.
Here is our Time Travels Kitties kit, which along with the New Millennial Golden Rule and the 11 steps that are right underneath it on the website, will help you turn every neighborhood into divine and a heaven on earth. Linked to by the internet as a local global neighborhood, a heaven on earth. And on earth, because we are opening the stargates also. Okay, that's not showing up. Well, it's coming up slowly. Here we come. Go to this section of the website for what you can implement in your local global neighborhood as you found your divine democracy circles there. There, we call it the re-evolution. Danny Kennedy has called the solar panel revolution the rooftop revolution. We are furthering it, the rooftop re-evolution, because solar energy is so consonant with divine democracy. The two go hand in hand. Renewable energy and real democracy in every neighborhood go right hand in hand. And they liberate everyone to a stress-free life. Everyone. So-called poor and so-called rich. Everybody will have abundantly more time to spend with those that they love, to cultivate their own learning, to learn musical instruments and many languages on this and more planets as we expand. So here is the Save the World Solar Kitty Kit, where you track your great and grandmother's value using the Genuine Progress Indicator. You calculate it for that of your own known family and extended family, and then recalculate a world of equality in which the men are not bent down by exploitation or domination, and all children's genius is valued, female and male, as holy children. And see, this is what she was talking about, the people wearing the Statue of Liberty hats. This is what we have already recommended on our website for 2 years now. And we also suggest that you carry and wear your Solar Co-Secretary General badge or button. You can put it in your hat or on your clothing. You can put it as a decal on your bags and what you carry. You can put it on your house. And we also have the consciousness currencies that you make for your own great and grandmothers, the women of your family, the youth of your family. First go first. They belong on the money. They have been off the money. Our concepts of wealth for thousands of years, especially here in North America, where we've been looking at pasty-faced old among the representatives section of the website again, which has not only this famous family that is celebrated today, but our own opening the Stargates family, and our eternal life family, with our connections to the great biblical and mythological families, as well as into the science fiction become fact of the opening of the stargates, that is also the product of our family's genius. Here we have the among the representatives. Looking for it. Here it is. Among the representatives underneath the grassroots congresses, courts, and assemblies section. And you'll see Anna Marie and her mother and our families, family names, and those of this famous family of today, and all of the famous families of this month in common sense. The common royalty that we all are of divine democracy. Whoops, picked the wrong website there. Here's the one we want. Okay. And of course, we see the Statue of Liberty in all the different cultures all around the world. There is a black Statue of Liberty in the West Indies. We need one here. Can be adorned on every high school where there's a strongly a neighborhood where the neighborhood is more filled with African Americans. And here's the various names of the women and the youth from all the continents, including our own dearest family, who you've seen many, many times. We are waiting for them to co-host with us. We all have the power now. We all have the power to begin the world anew and have open stargates and eternal life. The greatest family reunion of the universe shall occur in our lifetimes. We shall make it so. I love you all. You know who I'm talking about most of all. Anna Marie and Ma Patricia say hi. It looks like they've hung up now, but they're with us, and they'll be back on more broadcasts. And how about you? We are all divine, children of the Mother, Father, Goddess, God. Patriarchy bends us over and makes us struggle for what should be easy. When women recognize their own value, and every celebration of Martin, as Anna Marie described, it was a full celebration equally of Rosa Parks and Coretta. That is the beginning of higher consciousness. And if we can remember, this also applies to their children. We can bring Yolanda back through the Stargate too, and any of the members of our and your family that have become lost. We can bring them back, because the new millennial golden rule gives us that power. Every blessing, more tomorrow. Come join us. Mitakuye Oyasin becomes Mitakuye Oya Koya Savior All. And what we really are recommending to Bernice and to all the children of this family, and we will be calling them also this week, is that every house of worship that they enter also honor the great and grandmothers in the manner of the Eleusaviral mysteries. The great and grandmother of the Eleusaviral mysteries was often considered to be the goddess Demeter, or in some other interpretations, Hera. There were similar ceremonies in ancient places in other parts of the world. It was the mysteries of the women and their coordination of these ceremonies in which they were able to anoint younger women and young men to become immortal. That was the nature of the Eleusinian mysteries of the Atlantis civilization. There was no income inequity, no barriers to the entry into the civilization, the ceremony. It was even carried into the more patriarchal Hellenic and Mycenaean times. And during those ceremonies, slaves and masters were equal. They all came in together to those ceremonies. There was no class issue going on during those ceremonies because they recognized that those kinds of divisions are our impediments against eternal life. And when we let go of them, we regain eternal life. So if the queens and kings of this family, this famous family, join our queens and king, our goddess and gods of our family, we will all find democracy together with those of the first family of the Brannock Skakel, all the Bouvier, Kennedy, all of that clan, all of them. There's many related branches with very famous names in that clan. And also Anna Marie's people, the many hundreds of millions of Native American souls who are going to be rediscovered as we open the stargates. Just like the Star Trek episode about Darvon Fine, Journey's End is what it was called, but it really meant Journey's Beginning. It meant the beginning of a new world that was less hierarchical and was more of a circle. So come join us for our additional broadcasts. We bless you. I am the Paraclete. I represent the Mother, Father, Goddess, God. I am interceding for you by standing up. I say very openly, hear me, guys. I outrank you, Mr. Putin. I outrank you. And in fact, your wife does, and your daughters do too. I outrank you, Mr. Bergoglio, and your sisters do outrank you too, right now. And the youth of your family. Outrank you. And Mr. Obama, your sister Maya outranks you. And so does, even though she's caught in her gilded cage like a bird, Michelle and Lois outrank you. And Hillary doesn't have to even run for office, because as soon as she and Chelsea, who we are related to on our Margulies family tree, because Chelsea's mother-in-law is a Margulies, we already are co-secretary generals. You don't have to run for anything. You don't have to run for anything. You have higher office than Billy ever did, because he was caught in patriarchy, and you don't have to be, because you have the new millennial golden rule already. We'll talk more about that soon, but what I want to say is by spring, I want the goddess and gods of my own family to come forward and co-host these programs with me and liberate entire humanity from the scourge, the cumulative adjustment down that patriarchy is, and adjust up to egalitarian ESZT, the goddess Estrella, in all seasons, the Statue of Liberty risen in all of us, female and male. Common sense government in the world is my country, and my religion is to do good. Every blessing, namaste, bahava, l'chaim shalom, mir, pace, tiyubesk, sedlerik, ciao, sayonara, chop chop. I'm not even sure what that isn't the right word. I'll find out a better word for that. And Schwanzafag and good day, mate, and all of the languages of all of the heritages of our earth and our earths. Every blessing. every blessing.
Celestial event. What? I should have said, Lord, so beautiful. So beautiful. Other people need to see what I've seen. They need to see.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the Confederation Solar Sun our starship planet Earth, restored to heaven on our and every earth as our spiritual, genealogical, local, global, universal voyager and shared her and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover and re-understand, sustain, and explore are and all are in fact familiar new worlds of family community, of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe, to restore, renew,
and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, CAD, present, retroactively, and now, rebalance, and future, always balancing, to lovingly, genealogically, and boldly become and be space-time travelers whenever and where we have interdimensional reality, all in part been before, if also never been before, in alternative space-time lines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ, IQ, and SQ continuum, balance, combinations of the ever-expanding circle which spirals and grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all both in each and every one. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body, for we all, both in each, and each both in all, can, must, and marvelously and miraculously make it so.
In the thunder's blast, she emerges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She's risen from the nativity of Caldera. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
May the circle be over and unbroken. May the love of the goddess be ever in your heart. Bury these and let it be thought, and when we meet again, blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. Om Mahalakshmi Mrudapriya Maharupa Mahapudya Mahapadakhanashini Mahamaya Mahasattva Mahashakti Maharati Mahabhuta Maheshwarya Mahavidya Mahabala Mahabuddhi Mahasiddhi Mahayogeshwareshwari Mahatantra Mahamantra Mahayantra Mahasana Om Mahabhairava Pudita Maheshwara Mahashini Mahakavesha Mahisi Mahatripura Sundari Chatushtashti Upacharadya Chatushtashti Kalamayi Mahachatushtashti Koti Yogini Ganasevita We are home. We are home. We are here. We are here. We are home. We are here. Celestial event. That was described. I should have said, oh, so beautiful. So beautiful.
need to see what I've seen. They need to see.
This day I call the heavens and the earths as witnesses intercessorily for and hopefully and prayerfully not against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose love and life with light, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not our new millennial law.
Come join us again tomorrow. Every blessing.